Hey there. Today, we're going to crack the parasite code. If you've ever felt completely lost staring at one of those super complex life cycle diagrams, then this is for you. We are not going to memorize. We're going to understand. We've all been there, right? You see this tangled mess of arrows and names, and it just feels impossible to learn. But what if I told you the problem isn't the parasite itself, but the way we're taught to think about it? The secret isn't to cram more facts into your head. It's to have a better system. And look, this isn't just about acing an exam. Understanding these cycles is absolutely critical in medicine. It tells you what to look for and where. Are you looking for eggs in a stool sample? Or maybe larvae in a muscle biopsy? It shows you the weakest link so you can break the chain of transmission. And it helps you target the right life stage for the most effective therapy. So here's our game plan for today. First, we'll meet the 4 key players in any parasite story. Then I'll give you a simple 5-step analysis to decode any life cycle you come across. We'll sidestep the common pitfalls, put your skills to the test, and then boil it all down to the key takeaways. Sound good? Let's get started.
First up, the 4 key roles. I want you to think of these not as confusing terms to memorize, but as the cast of characters in a biological drama. Once you know who's who, the plot makes perfect sense. All right, let's meet the star of the show, the definitive host. This is where the parasite grows up and, well, has sex. So the one rule to rule them all is this: definitive host equals sexual reproduction. That's it. That's the golden rule.
And here's a classic example that trips up so many people. For the malaria parasite, the definitive host is actually the mosquito, not the human. And why is that? Well, because the mosquito is where the sexual phase of the parasite's life cycle actually happens. This visual makes it really simple. See that? Inside the mosquito, you have the parasite gametes fusing together. That's the moment of sexual reproduction. That's your signal. Wherever that happens, you have found your definitive host. Next up in the cast is the intermediate host. This is like the parasite's nursery, or its training ground. It's where the parasite develops through its larval stages or multiplies asexually. But, and this is key, it never reaches sexual maturity here. So going back to our malaria example, humans are the intermediate host. The parasite multiplies like crazy inside our liver and red blood cells, but it's all asexual reproduction. Another fantastic example is a sheep that gets infected with dog tapeworm larvae. Just look at the visual here. Inside the human host, the parasite is just cloning itself. One becomes many. There's no sexual fusion happening, just multiplication and development. That is the hallmark of an intermediate host. Our third character is the accidental host. The best way to think of this is as a biological dead end. The parasite gets in, but its journey just stops there. It can't develop, it can't be transmitted. The German term Fehlwirt really nails it. It's the wrong host. A really serious example of this is when a human accidentally ingests eggs from the fox tapeworm. Now, the parasite can cause devastating disease by forming these massive cysts in the liver, but its life cycle is stopped cold. It can't get back to a fox from us. And the visual here tells the whole story, doesn't it? The red color just screams, stop. The parasite is trapped. The life cycle is officially broken. And finally, our 4th character, the vector. Think of this as the parasite's personal delivery service. It's an organism that physically carries the parasite from one host to the next. The classic example, of course, is a tick. It picks up a pathogen from one animal and then injects it into another. Or it can be as simple as a fly that lands on some feces and then on your food. The key role here is just transmission. You see it right here in the visual. The orange tick is the bridge. It's creating that connection, that arrow of transmission between the infected animal and the new host. A vector is all about movement and delivery. Okay, so we've met the cast of characters. Now let's learn the plot. This 5-step analysis is your key to unlocking any life cycle diagram you ever see. Here it is, 5 simple questions. First, and this is the most important one, find the sex. Where does sexual reproduction happen? That immediately tells you the definitive host. Second, track the development of the larval stages. That's your intermediate host. Third, identify the transporter. Who's the delivery service? That's your vector. Fourth, look for a dead end. Is there anywhere the cycle just stops? That's your accidental host. And finally, number 5, pinpoint the diagnostic stage. What actually comes out of the host that you can find in a sample? So let's apply this right now. Don't worry about any of the names on this diagram.
Just use the system. Step 1. Find the sex. You see right here where the gametes are fusing? That's it. That means that this organism right here is the definitive host. It really is that simple.
Okay, you have the system. Now let's level up by looking at a few common pitfalls. Honestly, avoiding these mistakes is the fastest way to master this whole thing.
The biggest point of confusion usually is between a vector and an intermediate host. So here's the key. A vector's job is transmission. An intermediate host's job is parasite development. Now, can one organism be both? Absolutely. The malaria mosquito transmits the parasite and hosts its development. But a housefly that's just carrying bacteria on its feet, that's a purely mechanical vector, not an intermediate host.
The second big pitfall is assuming the definitive host is always the biggest animal, or the one that gets the sickest, or the human. Biology doesn't care about our perspective. The definition is strict. Where does sexual reproduction happen? So for malaria, it's the tiny mosquito, not the large human. Always, always follow the biology, not your intuition.
All right, time to put your new code-breaking skills to the test with a quick little quiz.
Okay, here's the scenario on your screen. Go ahead and pause this explainer, apply the system we just talked about, and see if you can identify each role. I'll wait.
So, how did you do? Let's break it down. The definitive host is the dog. Why? Because that's where the parasite becomes a sexually mature adult. The intermediate host is the sheep, because that's where the larvae develop. And the accidental host? That's the human, because the parasite can't develop further. It's a dead end. See? The system works. So let's lock this in for good. If you remember nothing else, remember this. Sexual reproduction defines the definitive host. A dead end is an accidental host, and a vector is simply the delivery service. Master these roles, and you'll understand any parasite. You no longer need to fear those complicated diagrams. You have the code. You have the system. So the only question left is, which parasite's life cycle are you going to go out and decipher first?